I'm watching my father grill in the backyard. It's high noon, the sun a judgmental white eye in the sky, and the heat is oppressive. He's flipping burgers, laughing at something my mother said from the kitchen window. He looks good. He looks healthy, strong. His arms, which I remember as sallow and thin just weeks ago, are now defined. He takes a step back from the grill, wiping his hands on his apron, and that's when I see it. The patch of grass at his feet is fully, brightly illuminated. The sun beats down on him and he is just there. A man-shaped hole in the world's shadow. My dad doesn't have a shadow. For the last year, our house hasn't been a home. It's been a sick room. Dad's sickness was a gray, heavy fog that settled into everything. The doctors called it a profound depressive episode, mixed with a chronic fatigue syndrome that had no clear origin. I just called it the sinking. He'd lost 60 pounds. He slept in the spare room because he said his bones hurt too much to share a bed. I'd bring him trays of food he wouldn't touch. The house smelled like stale medication and quiet resignation. Mom and I spoke in whispers, afraid any loud noise would shatter the fragile peace. Then 2 weeks ago, on a Tuesday, he announced he was going for a walk. We both stared. This was a man who hadn't made it to the mailbox in 3 months. Just to the woods, he said, his voice a dry rasp. Need to clear my head. He was gone for 8 hours. Mom was frantic. She'd called the police, who were minutes away from arriving when the front door opened. He stood in the entryway, soaked from a rainstorm we hadn't even realized was happening. But he wasn't hunched. He wasn't frail. He was standing perfectly straight. He looked at my mother and he smiled. Not the pained, thin-lipped grimace we were used to, but a full, toothy, vibrant smile. I feel fantastic, he said. And his voice, which had been a whisper, was now a deep, clear baritone. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of an axe splitting wood. He was in the backyard, his pajamas soaked in sweat, effortlessly destroying the rotted stump we'd been meaning to have removed for 5 years. That was the first day. In the 2 weeks since, the sinking mark was gone, replaced by this version. He fixed the gutters. He repainted the entire second floor. He started cooking elaborate meals, humming these strange, tuneless melodies. He engaged with Mom, grabbing her by the waist and dancing her around the kitchen. Mom was ecstatic. She was high on the miracle. She told her friends, "He's back. He's finally back." But I'm the only one who sees it. I'm the only one who's truly watching. He moves too fast. His efficiency is unnerving. He'll be in the kitchen and I'll blink and he'll be in the dining room. His eyes are bright, yes, but too bright. There's a polished, cold gleam to them like freshly cleaned glass. And he doesn't seem to sleep. I've stayed up checking. The light in his and Mom's bedroom goes out at 10:30. But twice I found him downstairs at 3 in the morning, standing in the living room, staring at the wall, motionless. He just says, "Thinking, Alex? Just planning the day." Which brings me back to the grill. I'm sitting on the deck, my old baseball in my hand, tossing it up and down. The leather is worn, the stitch is frayed. I'm staring at the non-shadow. It's so obvious, so wrong that it makes my stomach clench. How can Mom not see it? The sun is directly behind him, and the ground he stands on is as bright as the rest of the lawn. I need to know. I need to be sure. "Hey Dad," I call out. He turns, that wide, static smile locking into place. "Hey sport. Hungry?" "Catch," I say, and I throw the baseball. I don't mean to throw it hard. But my fear, my anxiety, it all goes into the throw. It's not a lob, it's a line drive, fast and low, aimed right at his head. I realize what I've done and my throat closes. It's going to hit him. He's not even looking. He's turning back to the grill. The ball is maybe inches from his temple when his left hand, the one holding the spatula, darts back. It's not a human movement. It's a snap like a predator's strike. So, the sound of the ball hitting his palm is a dull thud. The grill is sizzling. My father slowly turns his head back toward me. He opens his hand. The baseball is resting perfectly in his palm. He hasn't even flinched. He smiles wider this time. It doesn't reach his eyes. "Good arm, son," he says, his voice perfectly calm. "But you need to work on your aim." I look down at his feet. The bright green grass, the sizzling grill, the clear blue sky. And nothing else. No shadow. Nothing at all. I started a log. It's a simple text file buried in a folder on my laptop, password protected. I titled it The Shadow Copy. Entry 1, 11:30 p.m. Tuesday. He's not sleeping. I know he isn't. Mom is asleep. I can hear her soft snoring from my room, door cracked open. But him? I waited until 2:05 in the morning. Slipped out of bed. The house was cold. Colder than usual. I found him in the living room just like the other night. He was standing by the big picture window, bathed in the pale light of a 3/4 moon. He wasn't looking out the window. He was facing the wall, perfectly still. I watched him for 4 minutes straight. He didn't blink. He didn't breathe. I don't mean he was breathing quietly. I mean in the dead silence of the house, I could see his chest under his thin pajama shirt. It was not moving. Not rising, not falling. I must have made a noise, my foot shifting on the hardwood, because his head snapped toward me. The speed of it made me jump. "Alex," he said, his voice as calm and clear as a winter morning. "Everything all right? Bad dream?" Yeah, I lied. Just getting some water." He smiled, that polished, bright white smile. "Of course. Sleep well, son. Big day tomorrow." As I walked back to my room, my heart hammering against my ribs, I realized he hadn't moved a single inch from the window. He was still standing there, staring at the wall, bathed in moonlight. Entry 2, Wednesday afternoon. I skipped my last 2 periods. I told Mom I had to study at the library, but I came home. I needed to know. I went straight to his study. The air in the room was stale, coated in dust. He hadn't been in here since the return. I powered on his old, slow desktop computer. A word to life, a dinosaur from another age. I went straight to the browser history. Most of it was boring. News sites, weather reports, medical forums. Pages and pages of searches like chronic fatigue symptoms, managing chronic pain, can depression kill you? I scrolled back to the day he left. The day before the sinking ended. The last searches, all within an hour of him leaving, were different. Local legends, our town, national forest. The shining people. The luminaries myth. What does it mean to lose your shadow? My blood went cold. He wasn't looking for a cure. He was looking for this. Entry 3, Wednesday evening. The house is changing. It started with the lights. Every bulb in the house has been replaced. They're these new high-efficiency LEDs, but they feel wrong. They're a piercing, sterile white like a hospital operating theater. Isn't it wonderful? Mom said at dinner, squinting. Your father fixed the flickering in the kitchen. It's not just bright. It's painful. It's a clean, cold light that seems to bleach the color out of everything. But Dad loves it. He walks around in a t-shirt, basking in it, while Mom and I are bundled in sweaters, shivering. The thermostat is set at 68, but I swear the house feels like it's 50. He's also been cleaning. Not just tidying up. He's been purging. Yesterday, I found him in the garage with 2 massive trash bags. He was throwing out all his old things. His favorite worn-out armchair. The box of his college trophies. And the photo albums. Dad, what are you doing? I asked, pulling out a picture of us at Disney World 7 years ago. He was thin, already looking tired, but he was smiling a real, goofy smile. Cleaning, Alex, he said, not looking up from his work. He took the photo from my hand and tossed it onto the pile. No sense in keeping reminders of the past. Of the weakness. Weakness. Sickness. The same thing. The house needed to be scoured. I tried to show Mom. I really tried. Mom, I said later when he was outside, calmly trimming the hedges with a terrifying manic speed. He threw out the pictures. He's not sleeping. He doesn't have a shadow. She sighed, rubbing her temples. She was exhausted but happy. Alex, honey, please. Your father is better. He's healthy. He's engaged. He's finally the man I married again. You're a teenager, I get it. You're wired to be cynical. But don't ruin this. Don't you dare try to ruin this. But he's back, she said, her voice sharp, final. End of discussion. Tonight he came home with flowers. A huge bouquet of lilies. They were an almost fluorescent white, and the smell they put off was thick and sweet, almost suffocating. For you, my love, he said, handing them to Mom in the kitchen. She cried, of course. Happy tears. She went to get a vase, leaving him standing there by the kitchen counter, right under one of the new, painfully bright spotlights. He was admiring the flowers, turning one in his hand, and that's when I saw it. He raised the lily to his nose, and his hand, his solid physical hand, passed directly under the beam of the table lamp. For a quarter of a second, the light didn't just hit his hand. It went through it. I saw the bones. I saw the light passing through the muscle, the skin, as if his hand was made of milky, colored glass. It was a brief, horrifying X-ray. I must have gasped. His hand snapped down. His head turned. That smile was gone, replaced by a look I'd never seen before. It was not anger. It was not surprise. It was cold, analytical appraisal. He'd seen me see. The mask of the perfect father had slipped, just for a moment, revealing the bright, cold, hollow thing underneath. "Everything all right, son?" he asked, his voice a low, perfect hum. I didn't go to school the next day. I packed a backpack with a bottle of water, a flashlight, and the small pocket knife I'd had since I was 10. It was useless, I knew, but it made my sweaty palm feel slightly less empty. I waited until I saw Mom pull out of the driveway heading to the grocery store. She'd been humming one of his new tunes. The house was silent, cold, and bright. I left. The national forest begins just a quarter-mile past our backyard. It's always been a place for families, for picnics, for easy trails. But I didn't stick to the trails. I pushed past the trailhead sign, past the families with their dogs, and into the dense, untamed undergrowth. I was following the path I thought he would have taken. The path of a man looking to disappear. The deeper I went, the quieter it became. It wasn't the normal quiet of a forest. The birds had stopped singing. The rustle of small animals was gone. All I could hear was the crunch of my own boots on dead leaves and the frantic hammering of my heart. The air grew still, thick and heavy, like the moments before a lightning strike. After an hour I found it. It wasn't a cave or a valley. It was a clearing. But it was wrong. The trees bordering the space, about 50 feet in diameter, were all dead. Or they looked dead. Their bark was a stark, bone white, and the wood was petrified, hard and cold to the touch. But high above, their branches were full of pale, green leaves, rustling in a wind that I couldn't feel. The air hummed. A low, electrical thrum that vibrated in my teeth. In the exact center of the clearing sat a large, flat boulder of black, obsidian-like rock. It was perfectly smooth, as if it had been polished. As I stepped into the clearing, the humming grew louder. I walked toward the boulder, my boots crunching on the chalky, white-gray dirt. That's when I saw them. They were on the rock, burned into the surface, like photographic negatives left in the sun too long. Shadows. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds, layered on top of each other. They weren't just silhouettes. They were expressions of pure agony. They were stretched and twisted, mouths open in silent screams, hands clawed as if trying to pull themselves off the stone. They were the captured final moments of what? I leaned closer, my breath catching in my throat. I recognized one. It was smaller than the others, newer, etched near the top. It was the shadow of a man, slumped, defeated, head in his hands. It was the exact posture my father used to have when he sat in his study, back when the sinking was at its worst. It was a shadow of weakness, of pain, of depression. It was his shadow. A terrible, cold understanding washed over me. The shining people, they didn't take my father. They didn't replace him. They scoured him. They burned away his pain, his doubt, his fatigue, his self. They took the shadow and left the shell. A perfect, hollow, illuminated shell. It's beautiful, isn't it? I screamed and fell backward, scrambling in the white dirt. My father was standing at the edge of the clearing. He wasn't smiling. His face was calm, serene, and utterly terrifying. He was bathed in the weird, pale light of the clearing, and he looked right at home. "I knew you'd come, Alex," he said, his voice the same flat, reasonable tone he'd used to ask about my homework. "I knew you wouldn't be able to rest." What did you do?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "I found the cure," he said, taking a step toward me. "The sickness, it's just a shadow. The doubt, the fear, the pain. It's all just darkness. And what is the only cure for darkness?" He held his hand out, and a beam of the clearing's strange light hit it. I could see the light shining through the skin. "Light," he said. "Pure, perfect light. No more weakness. No more doubt. Just clarity. If you're finding yourself lost in this story, consider subscribing to Silent Vanish. It ensures you won't miss the conclusion and helps us continue bringing these nightmares to life." I tried to get to my feet, to run, but my legs felt like lead. I was paralyzed by the sight of him, this thing that looked like my dad but felt like a cold, bright void. "What about Mom?" I managed to choke out. "What did you do to Mom?" His expression softened, or at least, it mimicked softness. "Your mother was so easy to convince," he said, his voice laced with a terrible, cold pity. "She just wanted her husband back. She was so happy to see me strong. She wanted the light. She invited it in." The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd left her. I'd left her alone in that house with him, thinking I was the only one in danger. My father took another step. "It's your turn, Alex. We can be a perfect family again. We can all be bright together." The spell broke. The realization of my mistake, the image of my mother's bright, empty eyes, shattered my fear and replaced it with pure, adrenaline-fueled panic. I didn't say a word. I just ran. I scrambled out of the clearing, plunging back into the silent, dead woods. I didn't look back. I could hear him behind me. He wasn't running. He wasn't panting or crashing through the brush. He was just walking at a calm, even terrifying pace. And he was keeping up. I burst through the back door, stumbling, my lungs on fire. I didn't bother to see if he was still behind me, I just knew he was. The woods had been a nightmare of silent pursuit, and the suburbs felt even worse, an exposed, sterile grid. "Mom?" I screamed, slamming the door shut. I fumbled with the deadbolt, my hands shaking so badly it took 3 tries. "Mom, we have to go. We have to." I stopped. The house was wrong. Every single light was on. The kitchen spotlights, the dining room chandelier, the hallway sconces, the living room lamps, all of them cranked to a brightness I didn't know they possessed. The air was painfully bright, a sterile, buzzing white that hurt my eyes and made the entire house smell like ozone, like the air after a lightning strike. It was silent. The sound of my own breathing filled the room. "Mom?" I called out, my voice smaller. I walked slowly into the kitchen. The linoleum floor was so bright it was reflective, like a sheet of ice. She was there. She was standing by the window over the sink, her back to me. She was perfectly still, her hands resting on the counter. She was humming. It was that same strange, tuneless melody he always hummed. "Mom," I breathed, relief and terror warring in my chest. "We have to leave." "No, Dad, he's not." "I know, Alex," she said. Her voice was beautiful. It was the voice she used when I was a child and had a fever, a perfect, smooth maternal coo. "I know. He's not himself." She turned. My heart stopped. It didn't just hammer, it seized. She was radiant. Her skin seemed to glow from within, a healthy rosy sheen that looked more like porcelain than flesh. Her eyes, they were the worst. They were wide, clear, and shining with that same cold, bright, analytical light as his. She was beautiful. She was perfect. And she was smiling that same, static, too-wide smile. I looked down at the floor. The afternoon sun was streaming through the window behind her, cutting a sharp rectangle of light across the linoleum. She was standing right in the middle of it, and she cast no shadow. "He's better," she cooed, taking a step toward me. "We're all better now, honey." "No," I whispered. I started to back away, one hand behind me, fumbling for the door handle I had just locked. "Alex, don't be difficult." The voice came from the doorway I had just come through. I turned, my head snapping on a terrified pivot. He was there. My father, Mark, blocking the only exit. He wasn't panting. He wasn't even sweating from the chase. He looked pristine, as if he'd just stepped out of a catalog. He too was smiling, that terrible, loving, empty smile. The trap was sprung. I was caught between them. "It's your turn, Alex," my mother said, gliding closer. Her movements were unnervingly smooth. No more grades to worry about. No more teenage anxiety. No more fear. "No more you," I choked out, scrambling backward, away from both of them, my back hitting the pantry door. "Just the light," my father said, advancing from the other side. "We can be a perfect family again. We can be whole. All you have to do is let it in. You just have to let go of that shadow." He raised his hand. "It doesn't even hurt, son." I didn't think. I just reacted. I ripped open the pantry door, threw myself inside, and slammed it shut, clicking the flimsy lock button on the knob. I was plunged into darkness. A real, comforting, musty darkness that smelled like spices and stale cereal. I collapsed against the stacks of canned goods, my phone clutched in my hand, my whole body shaking so violently I thought I'd tear a muscle. I'm writing this now, typing with trembling, sweaty thumbs in the pitch black. I can hear them outside the door. They aren't trying to break it down. There's no pounding, no rattling of the knob. They're just waiting. I can hear them humming. That awful, tuneless, two-note melody in perfect, cold harmony. It's vibrating through the wood of the door into my spine. It's been 10 minutes. Or maybe 20. I don't know. The silence between the humming is worse. Wait. The humming has stopped. Something is new. A sound. A melting. Like hot wax or plastic shrinking. And a smell. That smell of ozone, stronger now. I'm looking at the bottom of the door. The tiny crack that separates the pantry from the kitchen. A faint, cold light is seeping under it. It's not a flashlight. It's like the light itself is a liquid, a gas pushing its way into my sanctuary. The doorknob. I'm staring at the brass doorknob on my side of the door. It's starting to glow. Not with heat. It's glowing with that same pure, terrible white light. It's getting brighter, illuminating the small pantry. I can see the cans of soup, the bags of rice. The wood of the door itself. It's changing. I can see the grain of the wood, the fibers, and then I can see through it. The wood is becoming translucent like frosted glass. The light is coming in. It's so bright. It's so bright. The story has ended, but the silence remains. For the full visual experience, search for Silent Vanish on YouTube and subscribe. You can also find the audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts. Until the next nightmare.